All right, are we all labored out now that now we're past Labor Day? There's all things you can't do. We can't wear white pants anymore, right? Past Labor Day? I don't
You,
know. There's
you're
rules.
the second person that mentioned that. I had
Really?
a sister-in-law who told her girls yesterday at a family cookout, and I thought that's hilarious. I haven't heard anyone say that in like a decade.
I never understood what the hell was going on there with that, but
I'm
whatever.
sure we could ask ChatGPT, but it's not even worth the time.
Yeah. All right. What do we got going on right now? The Monday after Labor Day, which is always a Tuesday here when it falls on that Monday. What's going on?
I am a mess. Like my day, today is Monday in my head. I can't get
Yeah,
past this. And
same.
like I had a couple messages from patients that tried to come yesterday. I guess we never told them that we were closed yesterday. It's just one of those weird weekends, but all good. The weather is amazing here in Ohio. How is it in New York?
It's good. It's nice all weekend, but it definitely is starting to feel like fall, which is like, I don't know, simultaneously refreshing and depressing. You know what I mean? I
Hey,
like
good
fall,
morning.
but everybody knows what happens after fall, which is the problem.
Yeah. All right. So I pulled up a couple topics. I'm texting you. They're on my phone, so I'm just texting you some pictures. Um, I wanted to do an update on Lifetime Family Fitness and the DPT debacle. Do you remember
Okay.
this
Oh
story?
yeah. That's
So
where
I
Lifetime Fitness is like a gym, and they started having all their trainers wear DPT, dynamic personal training. I'm sure completely by accident, not understanding that it's a protected term in some states.
right, right. So I'm gonna switch cameras here. All right. So we were looking at this, and basically what happened was I thought DPT was a protected term in all states. It is not. So if I pull this over, um, there was a lawsuit. They're fighting it, but nothing's happening. And this is where I go back to. It's like, what is really the benefit of licensure? Sorry, I can't turn this off. Um, what's really the benefit of licensure? What are we protecting? We can't even use the initials exclusively for us. Like, what are you thinking about this? Because to me, aside from declining reimbursement, the license to bill insurance, I don't see consumer protection. I don't see it keeping the standard of care up. Like anybody can get CEUs online anywhere for $99 unlimited
Right.
CEUs.
Right. Like if I went and got really, really smart at the library, kids' library is a building with books, and books are it's the internet on paper. And I got really smart, but I didn't have a license. Let's say I was the smartest, most qualified physical therapist, person on the planet in terms of interventions that what we in what we call physical therapy, but I didn't have a license. I couldn't bill insurance, but I could go on the internet, or I could open I was going to say a clinic, but I could open a wellness center on the corner and do whatever I want, and the market would find its level, right? So, what is the incentive for paying $150,000 or more now? Like by the time you're hearing this, or you're going into school this year, is it consumer protection? Is it licensure? Is it because we've always done that, and this is what the industrialized educational complex is? Yes, kind of to all of that, right? I mean, people tell us all the time on this podcast, or people who interact, and they say, well, this is the best, and they argue over it. Like, do you realize you're the top like 1%? Most of the profession doesn't care. Like, and that's okay. Like, in a bell curve, there's going to be a large part to the left of that midline who just doesn't care and is awful. And that's the part we're trying to lift. So what's the point? I don't know, Tony. I spent some time this weekend watching a TikTok channel called Animal Crackers, and it's a chiropractor who just works on animals. And he's like, and I'm watching him like manip the cervical spine of a golden retriever. He's like, look at this. He can't look at where his extension is stopped. He's blatantly stopping the dog from moving. And he's like, watch this pop. Oh, look at that full range. Oh, he loves it. He loves it. So what's the point? I don't know anymore. I thought it was making people feel better and keeping them safe, but we've just shown in a couple sentences that's not really what it does.
So, two things about that topic. One, do you think those cavitations, those audible cavitations, are real or are they put back in after the fact?
I didn't even think of that. I mean, I think they're probably real. They're popping. Like I've seen
There's
some
there's no
with
way.
dogs where the dogs react. You think they're fake?
I think they're complete. I maybe there's something in there, but there is no way they get that level of audio, that level
Yeah.
of sound. So at least they're augmented, if not completely fabricated. Two, there are, I don't know what they call themselves. I'm just going to call them dog trainers, but they're like behavioralists. And I've seen some videos where they go through the animal chiropractor videos, and they're like, "You see this? This is not a good behavior. You
Oh.
see how the dog is like licking the chiropractor? He's not grateful for getting a pop. That is a pacifying behavior. That the dog is high anxiety and wants to get away from this person." And they completely debunk everything that the chiropractor is claiming, because the chiropractor makes it look like the dog is in so much relief and they're so happy and they're wagging their tail and licking them. But then the behavioralist is like, no, these are all negative behaviors because the animal doesn't know what to do and it just wants the thing to stop.
I mean, not shocked, but understand what business you're in. You're in the getting the human to bring your dog business because the human wants to feel good. So
Right.
make it right. So do everything in your power to make it look like the dog is feeling good. Wow. Yeah.
So,
I mean, so where's the protection there? There isn't
yeah.
any.
Yeah. And I think the second layer here is so many therapists have moved so far past what we've traditionally, conventionally done, that it's like, where do you even draw the line to say, okay, this is physical therapy, this is occupational therapy? I get into trouble all the time because I'm like, I still don't see a differentiation between physical therapy and occupational therapy. If I go back deep into the archives, maybe I can find some differentiation. We've talked about when I was at the hospital as a student, well, you do arms and you do legs. That was the differentiation between OT and PT.
All
But
right.
now every plan of care I generate is all function based. We hardly ever talk about impairments. It's all function and looks very similar to what an OT would be doing if the goal is activities in the home. So even from that perspective, it's like there are PTs doing all sorts of stuff way outside the scope of what they learned in school.
So then, I don't know, 6 months, a year ago, I had a crazy premonition, or I was making a case for, is there just going to be eventually these things just melt and come together? Is it going to be a mix of a physiatrist, a physical occupational speech therapist, with how PT is now, with a bunch of specialties or certifications, right? Like, I don't know if an off the shelf outpatient physical therapist is going to start doing pelvic care, right? But you could, with hopefully some education and some mentorship. Is that out of the realm of possibilities now, right? I mean, because what would you add to it? Like a physiatrist, like now you'd have to live up to the education of a physiatrist, like, right? I'm pretty sure it's an MD with a specialization. What does that bring you? Imaging, injections, like some different things that a PT can't do. Wouldn't it be easier to have rehab professionals, or would those people now with advanced educations want to be paid more, and you'd be paying this much for some care that might be below their education most of the time? Who's going to do the dirty work?
So we look at a state like Utah that passed the law to make primary care encompass physical therapy, or physical therapists be primary care providers. We see laws changing in the insurance world where instead of the specialist category with higher copay, PT is trying to be rolled into a primary care provider with a lower copay. But like you said, yeah, so then are we doing imaging studies, and are we doing these other things? Do we have to understand medication more than we do? I
Right.
know somebody somewhere takes a pharmacology class, but like, is that enough? I don't remember
One
any of it.
one pharmacology class? Probably not. I don't know.
All right. So anyway, point being, they're battling the DPT as a registered trademark. So the APTA, from what I understand in this, is fighting this, saying that you're infringing on our trademark of the use of DPT. Um, but it's so I don't even know what that is. It the look of the three letters DPT as a logo that they're fighting, because they can't fight against the use of the letters as a credential. I mean, I go back to, what is it? MD is Maryland, right? Postal code, but it's also medical doctor. And you can't protect MD from being used in other ways. So I don't know. I just think it's a big waste of time. I think we just need to move forward, forget about, living in 1978 and just embrace 2025.
What is that going to look like, though? I mean, people talk, and I wasn't in the profession or anywhere near it when people talked about, what was it, Project 2020 or Vision
Yeah,
2020?
I remember Vision 2020.
What was your vibe on that? Like, you're a pretty realistic person. When you saw that coming, what were your thoughts? Was this going to be net positive?
I mean, they were trying to move us toward autonomy, trying to move us out from under the thumb of medical providers, other healthcare providers. I don't see it being any different today than it was in 2021, 2022 when we started the business. The DPT didn't bring us really, to my understanding, any additional level of autonomy. Some payers say, no, you don't need a physician referral and you don't need a signature on your plan of care. But Medicare still has remnants of that time. There are changes to the law in 2025. But I just, with the ability to bill insurance, you were always going to accept certain restrictions, certain oversight, certain compliance and regulation that's going to dictate what you do and how you do it. And I just don't see any way to get away from that unless you go completely away from the protected term, you go completely away from the insurance history, and you just say, hey, I am a physical therapist by education, but what I am doing is, something completely different, and you call it something different. I don't know, didn't chiropractors and osteopaths kind of come together and create some sort of something that they're calling?
Osteopractor?
Yeah. Like, people do it. There's examples out there.
Yeah, you can make anything up you want. Again, animal crackers, right? It's just I'm a animal chiropractor. You could be an animal, read their fortune teller. You could do whatever you want. The question is, like, are you providing enough value for people to understand what you do and how it benefits them, enough for them to give you their time and money? Yeah. And with this tool right here, you can figure it out real quick of whether or not are there enough people. I mean, look, what do you think if you could take a double click at what the most viewed content on the internet is? I gotta think animal videos has got to be up there in the top 2, right?
Yeah,
like goofy kitten videos and fail videos. That has to be 1, 2. Animals and fails. We love failure and puppies. And if you can connect those two to money, that's what people are doing. And are they getting better? Here's where I'm smart enough to say, I mean, I remember when I was back in PT school and no one explicitly told me chiropractors are bad, right? No one ever told me that, especially in school. But people might hint at it. They're them and we're us. We do it differently and we're good. Therefore, you fill in the blank. We're good. Look at all this. Look at all these books. Look at all these classes. Look, we're at this school. This must be good. Therefore, whatever that is, it's other. And I think, I've fully evolved to, like, when someone says, I'm going to a chiropractor, what do you think about that? My first question is, how do you feel? How do you feel? How long have you been going? Is this what you expected? Did you expect to have to keep going? Well, I've been going for 8 months. Okay. Is that good? Did they tell you were going to be one and done, or did they tell you it was going to be, like, help me understand? I am completely on the outside, and I think I get it now, because I used to watch people I wanted an answer from do something similar to me, where I'd be like, well, is this good? And they're like, I don't know. Do you feel good? Or I'm doing this with a patient when I was in the clinic. Is that the right thing to do? What are the results? Like, I thought they were being passive. I thought they were being, like, high and mighty and didn't want to tell me, or they were trying to teach me a lesson. And I think I get it now, where they're like, it's all great, dude. We all simultaneously have no idea what we're doing and sort of are figuring it out and sort of have an idea. But that was the look. So, like, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know, man. I don't think any of us know. So the only issue that I have is when someone blatantly is doing something to deceive someone. If someone is adding in cracks, right, on a video with a golden retriever, which I didn't even think of, but of course they could be doing that. If you're doing that, I got a real problem with you. I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess they could say there's some placebo, and look, net positive. If us adding that is going to bring more dogs, and more dogs get relief, but I'm like, dogs, man, they can't tell you. And if you're looking at behavioralists and they're saying this is a passive, so I don't even know where I went when I started this tangent, other than like, do good stuff, don't be deceptive. That was what was hard for me, is most of the time in clinic, I was doing what I thought was best. The results took so long. I was super doubtful. I was like, is this worth your time or money? Are you actually going to do it? That was hard for me. Like, I definitely came to PT from media, right? Which is very ambiguous, which is very subjective. I was okay with it there. I came and read books and took classes because I thought I was going to get answers. And when they found the answers were, we do the best with what we have. I was like, oh, crap. I'm going to have to believe or incur, like, that bothered me a lot. And it was hard for me to do it every day, 8 hours a day.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's still more art than science. Science is on, off, yes, no, right, wrong. I heard a great quote the other day where somebody said, you really have to be more of a police officer than a scientist. A scientist.
What does that mean?
A scientist basically, like, they're using principles that are generally considered universal. Gravity is always pulling at the same rate. Time is always ticking forward at the same rate. But then you go to healthcare, physical therapy, you're dealing with imperfect situations. Somebody gets murdered in the street. The police come in, they're asking questions. You don't even know if the person's incentivized to tell you the truth, to lie. Right. You don't know what's going on. Same thing in the clinic. I get a patient that walks in the door and says, my shoulder hurts. It's like, I need the context around that. What does that mean? What are the ulterior motives? Is there a benefit to this person staying in pain? They can tell me one thing, but really mean something completely different. So you're dealing with imperfect information in an imperfect environment. You need to make the best guess that you can, but you could do the same thing with 100 different people and get completely different results. Right. That's the world we live in. So let's stop trying to treat this like a true hard science, and let's acknowledge it for what it is. This is human relationships. This is behavior modification. There are some patients that want to feel pain. There are some patients who don't. There are some patients who want to get better. There are some patients who don't. Not getting better is success in their minds. But if we don't understand that, and we put everybody on the same scale that we use to measure our own success, we're going to be huge failures. Even to the point where, who is the, like, is this a patient that is coming because the doctor told them they have to come, and they'll come as long as insurance pays, but once insurance has stopped paying, they're not going to come anymore? That's a very different situation than the patient who says, you know what, I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. I'm ready to make a change. I'm going to make the commitment. I'm going to buy new shoes, buy new clothes. I'm going to go in there with the intent to change my lifestyle over the next 20 years.
Yeah. I feel like more people, including me 8 years ago, probably needed to hear that, because things were like given so absolute. Look at this chart, right? Sensitivity and specificity. We use those words. And I was like, and then I would go and I would do stuff with people under my care, and I would get results. And then I would go, holy cow, like, what am I doing wrong? And for me, my brain would just spiral over and over and over again. And I wouldn't be able to separate the imperfectness from, aren't I supposed to know this? Isn't this supposed to be better? Look at how smart everybody else is and how sure everybody else is. But yeah, when someone walks in with a laceration and somebody in the emergency room stitches it, you could go to 100 emergency rooms and they're going to do that and then get that outcome. But a painful shoulder, 100 different painful shoulders in 100 different clinics, they're going to do wildly different stuff. And I sort of was never okay with that. Yeah. And I never got okay with that. No one ever told me to be okay with it. I think, and I'm not blaming anybody else, as much as I would always say, what would you do? And they would do something different, and they'd question what I did without ever saying, honestly, man, both of those things might have gotten the same result. It really is just, you reach into your toolbox and you pull something out that you heard at a class or on a video, and you try that and you see what works. but we're probably going to wind up at the same finish line. I don't know. It was never okay with me.
Yeah. Let's pivot. Did you get a chance to get those photos I text you? Those
Yeah.
screenshots?
Which one do you want to look at first? Yeah.
You pick it and I'll explain it. So, you know, I tend to go through cycles in my life. I do things for a while, then I kind of step away. And then I come back. I could come back in a couple months. I could come back in a couple of years. Amazon influencer, Amazon associate, Amazon affiliate income, all that kind of stuff. I went back and I found the original, the furthest back I could go was 2017. I made $1 in, I think, November of 2017. That was my whole commission for a month. But this is a screenshot. This one is associate income. And basically what that means is when I share a link on my social media for a product or something selling on Amazon, they click through, they buy the product. In the month of August, I generated $259 income from Amazon. Now, most of this isn't my patients. These are just people that go to my Facebook page, my YouTube page, any social media. They see a video clip, they see a photo, they want the product, they click and they buy it. So I have no direct connection to these individuals. But these are products that I use, that I like. I have them in my clinic. I recorded content, usually with patients in my clinic or just me doing demonstrations. So month of August, 2025, I generated $259. Then the next one, it's coming. Save that one. There you go. This is for video content that I've uploaded directly to Amazon. So when somebody's going to buy something, buy a bike, buy a treadmill, buy whatever, there's videos on the product page. You watch the video and you're like, oh, yeah, I like this product. You buy the product. If my video was the last video you watched before you buy the product, I get the commission. And so for the month of August, I did $1,715 in commission for on-site content. Those are the videos on Amazon. We do a little quick math, about 1,700 from influencer income, about 250 from affiliate offsite income, and then back to the photo you had, the 205. Amazon runs these little like competitions. So because I exceeded $6,700 in revenue from products from my offsite income, I qualified for a $205 bonus. All in all, from Amazon, I generated about $2,000, a little over $2,000 for the month of August. We do a little quick math. That's $24,000 a year. You know, if you think about how much money you would have to have invested at a conservative interest rate to generate $24,000 a year, I don't have that kind of cash in a money market or something like that, but
right.
I can put time that I'm spending in the clinic with products that I'm using every single day into generating this content, building my social media brand, building my affiliate income to the tune of $24,000 a year right now. Now, that being said, real quick, it wasn't like that 6 months ago. You know, 5 or 6 months ago, I was lucky to break 1,000 in a month. It wasn't a focus of mine. I didn't put any energy into it. It was just kind of sitting in the background because I had burnt myself out back in 2023, did nothing in 2024. Then midway through 2025, I was like, oh, you know, I probably should come back to this, explore this, start to put some effort back into it. And this has been my best month in probably a year and a half.
Now, what do you think, you know, someone playing, not necessarily devil's advocate, but wanting to understand this, because we've got a Facebook group with people trying to do things like this. And you're very, very open, honest, showing probably more failures than successes, because I think people need to understand that there are a lot more failures on the road to success. How many hours? It would be hard to know, because it's not like what you did this month netted that result this month. It's what you did 2 years ago and last month and this month that led to this month. But hours worth of work this month or in the last 30 to 45 days to net that outcome? Ballpark.
Yeah. So there's two caveats to that before I answer. One is just the reps and the reps and the reps and the unreasonable number of videos, thousands and thousands of videos over 20 years got me to the point today where I could literally go out there right now with my phone, capture 6 or 7 clips, get them all prepped during the patient care experience while I'm talking to the patient, because it's become second nature. And, do you count that as patient care time? Do you count that as media time? Like, how do you differentiate?
Right.
And what takes me 30 seconds today would have taken me an hour 10 years ago. So that being said, with my workflow, basically what I do is I intentionally try to capture clips in the clinic every single day. Then just at random times, I get home, I sit on the couch, nobody's around. I'll do a quick edit and I'll do a quick upload. I'm at the point today where I'm trying to get 3 to 5 pieces of content daily published across all the platforms. The primary platforms for revenue for me: YouTube, Facebook, Amazon, and Pinterest. That's where I'm spending all of my time. Instagram is, a second thought. TikTok should be a higher priority, but it's not. Those 2 platforms just don't add a lot of value for me. I would say I reasonably spend about an hour a day, probably 10 hours in a week, dedicated to this kind of stuff.
So $2,000 divided by 10 hours
a week, for 40 hours a month. 2,000 divided by 40 hours, $50.
$50 an hour.
Yeah. But again, what we're doing,
I mean, in theory, if you keep up this pace, it could also increase. Like, content compounds. We've seen a couple times when your content has actually increased and jumped, and it wouldn't have done that if on day one. Someone releasing 10 videos on day one is different than someone dropping 10 videos on month 45.
And the way I try to look at this, and maybe it's just justification in my head for not spending time on other things, I go out there into the clinic, I treat a patient, I generate $100. Never going to generate more than that $100 for that hour of my life. That life is gone. It is never coming back. And I shared a post about this I think is interesting. And I think you and me and people watching, we're willing to sacrifice hours of our life if we believe that it has impact on other humans. But the truth is, a lot of other humans that are in the clinic right now, they might appreciate a little bit of what we do. We might make their obligation less agony just because we're fun and we tell jokes, but they go home, they're happy not to come back, right? So why am I giving up an hour of my life to serve a population that's here simply because insurance is paying and their doctor said they have to? Conversely, I think if we change the focus of who we treat, if we really want to be those clinicians that operate at the highest level, we should be treating patients who value our time at the highest level. We should be treating, and I get those patients who literally, we are changing their life. We are genuinely helping them stay in their homes, enjoy the last years that they have, and they appreciate it. They acknowledge it. They see it. They appreciate, even if they don't pay us. I would do it for free. I often do. But the idea is, I think, you can't be in a high volume clinic that's seeing patients just because insurance pays and be the same passionate therapist that's willing to give up hours of your life, because those 2 objectives don't align. I got off track. Go ahead.
I think you need to like doing it.
Yeah.
I think first and foremost, like, do you get something out of it? Like, when I started a podcast, actually 10 years ago yesterday, I made no deal about it on social media. I think it was like September 15th or something like that. But 10 years ago, 2015, I was making it up. Like, there was no aspirations I'd still be talking about it 10 years later. 10 weeks later, I didn't even think I might have been talking about that. But definitely for me, it was like, I don't know, like, can I talk to a bunch of people that'll help me get through school or learn something? Because for me, always watching a video or listening I heard someone say yesterday, it's nails on a chalkboard listening to a podcast when you can tell it's scripted. And I'm the same way. And I hope someone has never said that about me, mostly because I couldn't write a script to save my life. Will outline things or will say, these are the 5 things I want answered by the time this is over. And then I think the magic comes in. And number 1, how good are you at picking those 5 questions for that guest? And number 2, if you recognize an off ramp, do you take it or not? And how natural that is. It's a dance, man. This is 2 people dancing, as prepared as you might be. But anyway, what I was saying was, do you like it enough to get through what Seth Godin would call the dip or the suck, as people call it? Because I don't think anybody thinks great. It's all glamour. This is glamorous. It's not. But if you like it enough, I mean, I was talking about this with someone yesterday, or maybe here's what it was. I was talking to the VP of talent acquisition for Athelis, and he does not have a background in talent, but he's like, I'm thinking about doing a podcast. What do you think? And I was like, 2 things I'm thinking. Number 1, there's so many podcasts. Like, does the world need another one? And he's like, I figured you would be the one pitching me. And I was like, hang on, let's set some expectations. What does it need to look like to be successful for you? And he was, and then we started to get into, we should have hit record. Then we were getting into what he was up against. He's like, listen, OpenAI is going to pay an engineer, 3 times what we can offer. And they're going to give him equity in this huge company. What do I have to offer? And then I said, well, what do you have to offer? He's like, well, flexibility or this or that or this or that. I said, talk about that. That's the only thing you can talk about, right? You can't tell smart people to make a dumb decision, but 2 things are not the same, right? If you can't compete on money, go after people who have so much money, it doesn't bother them anymore. They want to be a part of something, or they want the flexibility to do whatever they want, however they want. That's the only way you're going to win. Then we got back into a podcast, right? It's just a delivery device. I'm like, this is sound. I'm like, we're having a podcast right now. It's just, I wasn't smart enough to hit record. But then I said, how many people actually need to listen to it for it to be successful? And he's like, I don't know, 100. And I was like, I think 0. Because what if you interviewed someone who was the right candidate? No one heard, you never even aired the interview, right? But you found a connection, you hired that person and they said yes. Would that be considered successful? He's like, well, yeah, man, like 1 hire is actually a big deal. And I said, I think you have your answer. But like, approach talent acquisition differently. Talent acquisition, podcasting, YouTube, it's connecting 2 people. It's either the person you're talking to right now, Jimmy and Tony, or it's whoever the hell's listening to this 2 weeks from now. Right? We recorded it. We're moving on. Tony's somewhere else. Jimmy's doing something else. But you're hearing it now and you thought of something. Now, whether that closes a sale or gets someone hired, we just put stuff out in the internet. I was okay with subjectivity and ambiguousness in communications. I wasn't okay with it in clinic, as we were talking about before. I'm totally fine with it saying, I got to do it 10,000 times. For me, whenever I was in front of a human who I knew just paid money and gave me an hour of their time, I wanted them to walk out with a result, like today, even though logically I knew that might not be the case for whatever they're facing. It took them 10,000 hours to get into this problem. It's not going to take them 1 hour to get out of it, but I was never okay with that. I am in communications. Maybe I just needed someone to say that to me 8 years ago and I wouldn't have left a clinic. I don't know.
All right. I sent you another text. Get that for the next segment. Okay. Just for context and going back to the videos and stuff on Amazon, a lot of people think that these are like corny hard sell videos. Hey, this is amazing. This is the best mouse I've ever seen. And it's got 2 buttons and no, it's none of that stuff. The videos that I'm creating for Amazon is, really they're educational videos, like literally one of my best performing is how to use a cane on stairs. I have the cane. The cane is the product that's being sold. I've got another big one showing us using a TENS unit after a knee replacement and how to put on the electrodes and like the settings. And these literally clips out of my clinic. It's not a hard sell on anything. Now I do have more sales like videos. I hate bracing. I'm not a huge fan of bracing, back braces, stuff like that. But I'm like, look, if 10,000 people a month are buying this brace, and that's the numbers that Amazon is showing, I feel like I should give them some piece of value so that they can actually do something useful with that back brace. So I just recorded a video putting an ice pack in the back brace and then using the back brace to hold the ice pack in place, because I think there's some benefit to a little bit of cold therapy on a sore back. I'll do the same thing with the TENS unit. We'll do little Velcro pads on the electrodes so that if you can't reach to put the TENS in the right spot, you put them on the back brace and then you wrap the back brace around. Like, these are things that other people aren't doing. And if anybody's thinking about it, the quality of the videos on many of the healthcare, physical therapy related products, horrible quality videos. I mean, just the worst garbage out there. Anything you create is going to be better than what's on the platform right now. And it's just so easy. Like, this is the bluest ocean that I see in this kind of user generated space right now. Is if you qualify for Amazon Influencer, get out there, start putting videos on the platform. It's just the lowest hanging fruit.
You don't like watching a great clinician explain something for the 10,000th time to a person in a clinic is one thing. When you bring that out, it does get a little crazy though, doesn't it? So you've got to do that a few hundred times. Me talking one-on-one with a patient is one thing. Me talking one-on-one with a patient while there's someone else near me, totally different, right? Because now you feel like you're being judged. The camera is like 10,000 people. It makes you feel weird. It should. It is weird. A microphone and a camera changes things. If you really want to help more people, the people that are just saying, I'm okay with feeling weird the first 50 times I do this because 51, I'm going to feel less weird. Those are the people that succeed. Do you want a course? Would you feel better if Jimmy and Tony put together a course where in 4 lessons for $200, we could make you feel better? The underlying message is going to be suck and then suck less and then suck less until one day you're like, oh, I don't suck as bad anymore. And you're never going to love it. Everybody's like, you were in radio for 15 years. When did you stop hating the sound of your own voice? I don't know. I don't love it. It is weird. I don't hate it as much. I don't know. Year 7. I don't know what to tell you. Halfway through, I started listening to my voice for different reasons. I started listening to what I was saying and how I was saying it, not actually how my voice sounded. Stop listening to that. That's what you do. No one's judging you as harshly as you're judging yourself. No one on the planet. Everybody's busy looking at themselves. They are. They're busy worried about what does that person think about me. They're not thinking when you're dying and you're on your deathbed. All those people, they never thought about you. You were never going to change their mind. They're not really paying attention to you. I'm very sorry, but they're not. They're not. They're not.
All right. Last week or the week before, Jeremy Sutton talked about a coffee membership. And we got on the topic of memberships. I pulled it out here. So basically he said, you buy $130 cup of coffee. It's a membership. And you get unlimited refills the rest of the year. So I was talking to somebody who works at Panera. Panera basically has something similar, but it's a monthly membership, not an annual membership. You pay and you get unlimited refills. I had mentioned that we just upgraded our Costco membership to an executive plan because it gives you a second person on the membership. But more importantly, it lets my wife get into Costco an hour before everybody else can get in. And that time savings is huge. And I think the difference is like a $60 membership to $120. So it's double the cost. But over a year, we're talking $10 a month. It's absolutely worth it just to get into the Costco building an hour before the masses come in. So with that, I sent you a picture. We went out for Mexican food, little family-owned Mexican restaurant the other night, and I saw this. And you've talked about this. You buy the cubby, you put a fancy bottle. I don't know if you buy the bottle or the cup from the restaurant or what. The family name goes on the cubby, and that's your cubby. And so I didn't get the information on how much these cost and how they sell them and but they're so cool. Like you can see the designs in the back, the sugar skull and all the different stuff. This is a real authentic Mexican restaurant. It just got me thinking again, they're like, why don't we have something like this in every physical therapy clinic? I've seen clinics with walls of testimonials, walls of patient photos. That's you trying to sell, going back to Jimmy, going back to Gary V, right? How can we do something else, take it differently to where, I don't know, I gamify it. There's a scoreboard, every calorie burned in the therapy sessions from wearing a biometric device, right? You're moving up the scoreboard. Do you remember Price is Right? Remember the little alpine climber that gets
Yeah,
up?
yeah.
Like, there's so many ways that we could do something like this. I hit a couple topics. One is the membership. One is like getting your piece
Gamification.
of the organization, putting your mug, putting your dumbbell, putting whatever it's going to be on the shelf with your name and recognition. And then the third topic in this was gamifying performance so that we can track progress and we can see what's really going on. Where do you want to go with this?
I mean, to connect this to AI scribes, I've shown people with the scribe that Athelos has, it'll take the note you just wrote and it'll summarize it in an email. You sort of set up how you want that AI to write that email. But for me, I always close it or open it with, based on best evidence or based on clinical practice guidelines, you're about 80. And I said, I want you, AI, to put a percentage of where this person is to 100 being their goal. Estimate, give me the best estimate, right? And then I also, if it's not just an evaluation, if it's a reevaluation, if it's 10 to 20th visits, show me the progress. Like, show me when you started, you were at 7, now you're at 38, and we probably think within a month you're going to be at 92, right? This gamification is like, I just want to know where I am. It's too ambiguous. When I go to the emergency room and I'm bleeding and I have a laceration, people always love this. I remember as a kid, because I played hockey. How many stitches did you get? How bad was it? How many stitches did you get? Was it bad? How many stitches did you get? Right? For some reason, we wanted to quantify the bad or quantify what happened to us to compare it. We're humans, right? And we just have this ambiguousness in PT and maybe other, parts of healthcare, which is like, yeah, you're on the way. Where are you? I don't know. I really didn't think about it. Shouldn't you be? Like, where am I? Or how hard did I work today? Look at some of the successful fitness companies. The director of HHS, no matter what you think of it, just came out and said they're going to put forth the most expensive advertising campaign HHS has ever done. And they're going to put it towards people using wearables and saying, track your health. I think they're missing more than half of the boat there, but hey, they're doing something. They're saying, track it. That's good. That's all right. Like, track your fitness. Now we can actually measure. Hold on a second. Maybe we could measure the success of an advertising campaign from HHS. What are the sales of wearables? If those companies would be so kind as to say, hey, when the campaign ran, we sold these many wearables, and month over month, this is how much usage we got. People who already had it used it more. People who were new used it more and longer than usual because of this nudge. I want to understand where I am. It's very ambiguous. Can you make it objective? And maybe I'll do it longer. Orange Theory, Soul Cycle, Peloton, CrossFit, like, they do really good jobs of, some better than others. CrossFit really good at building community. How many reps, or how many, the AMRAP, right? How many did I get done, or how fast did I do it? I mean, look at like 6-year-olds. Hey, go get me the remote control. I'll time you. Like, you don't need to teach a kid why that's valuable. They want to see how fast they are and if they're getting faster and who they're faster than. Like, we're big dumb animals. Start acting like it.
So I wonder what is out there today that could be automated, that could track an objective metric like that. Like, the things that come to my mind. So obviously we do a lot of knee replacement stuff, but it's such a hassle to get the GONI out, to do all that, to get the measurement, and it's so inaccurate. There's so much variability in that. So it's like, what is the thing? What is the metric? Steps seems like an easier one, no brainer, but steps don't really apply inside the PT clinic all the time. I was trying to think, like, what if I could count, we can track heartbeats per minute. Can I track how many total beats? Like, is there a technology out there right now, a wearable that would tell me in 60 minutes, your heart beated this many times? not you're up to 120 beats a minute, but how many total beats did you actually get? Like that's an objective measure. I'm sure there's something out there like that. What's on your mind? I wish we could see how much weight was lifted and how far, but there's nothing out there like that right now.
Yeah, that might be harder. Although, I mean, you know how the world works. That might be someone might figure that out in 6 months from now with AI. Don't you think people might run to the bike or the arm ergometer faster if they knew their session was starting in 5, 4, 3, and they were being timed or they were being measured on how many beats they could get in 60 minutes? Yeah, I think not everybody, but yeah, I mean, I'd want to know. I mean, you know, I did triathlons and we'd measure all sorts of stuff and distance. I used to train people in marathons when I was in PT school with the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. We'd go do a 20-mile run close to race day. We'd finish on a national mall overlooking the Capitol. Do you know how many times we were like 0.3 of a mile short and people would take an extra lap? Like, do you really like, and these were smart people. Like, do you really, and they were just like, I need it to say 20. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go stand over here because I'm okay with the margin of error or whatever. But 10 years before that, I was that person. I was the person who needed it to say 20.0. So I think that would work with some people. I think encouragement would work on others. I think that's the real thing. Some of that needs to be taught more and encouraged. That's the actual thing that we can, I want to use the word manipulate, change. That's the thing that we can actually change. Are we creating behavior change? We needed one psychology class to get into PT school, one. And I don't think we took any in PT school. And I think that's a gigantic disservice. We're also measuring who we're accepting into PT school based on hard science grades, right? A&P, bio, physics. I'm not saying that we take that out, but like other things need to be considered. Because when you get, I mean, I remember in PT school looking around the room going, there's about 30% of this class I wouldn't let touch me because they're weird. Like, I don't, not because they didn't do great on tests and they probably outperformed me on most tests. But I'm like, can you translate what's on that test besides regurgitation to how you're going to do it with a human? Would you let them touch your grandmother? Would you let them touch you or your kid? If the answer is like, well, now there needs to be some variability too. Like, not everybody's for everybody, but like, I don't know if we measure the right things going into and coming out of PT school. I don't know if we
isn't that the whole thing with the NFL combine? Like you got
Wonderlic
combine performance, you know, off the charts, and they don't do well in the actual league. We see that across so many different disciplines. What's Scott saying?
He thinks that One Step's a great app. I think we had him on the podcast a while ago. You don't have to set it up. Like, that's the thing. You don't have to, like, it's not a lot of dots. It's not a measuring thing. It really is. You put the phone in the pocket or your back pocket, and it's like, it gets very, very accurate information. So yeah, that could be, I mean, yeah.
So then we look at this and I wonder at the other end. So we were at the dentist a couple weeks ago. You know, my kids, nobody enjoys going to the dentist, but it's a decent dentist. And I'm thinking at the end of the dentist experience, you go to the basket, you take a piece of either like these balls or, you know, a kid's toy or something like that. Or now the dentist has dog toys. So usually my boys will grab a dog toy to bring home to Tucker. And, you know, they enjoy that more than they enjoy a kid's toy. So I'm like, well, is this something that we can roll into our therapy clinic? We use bribes all the time, right? Manual therapy, in my opinion, is a bribe more than an intervention. But it's like, should we have something at the end of either the plan of care, the episode, or should we have something at the end of each visit that's a little bit of a reward? If we look at the research, and this goes back to what research are you citing when you say you're research-based? I don't know if you remember BJ Fogg, but more recently, who's the Atomic Habits guy?
Crap.
Yeah. Either way, both these guys.
James Clear.
Yeah, James Clear. They have tons of research, really great research on like, look, if you reward yourself, if you acknowledge your improvements, even if it just means getting in the car and going, and you give yourself a little reward, you're going to do better, you know? And so why, if we're not, why are we not doing that? Is this a conflict of interest? I just found out. Go ahead.
No, keep going.
I just found out. Now this blows my mind. But this is a business brain trying to live in a clinical world. So I talked to ChatGPT and I said, hey, you know, what are the ethical guidelines behind me choosing interventions that are more profitable rather than interventions that are less profitable? Well, of course, you can't choose interventions that are more profitable just because they're more profitable. And then I said, well, what if the two interventions that we're deciding between are equal in efficacy, but one is more profitable than the other? You still can't choose because it's more profitable. I said, okay, let's go a different route. What if I said, I'm not going to choose to deliver an intervention that's equal in efficacy because it's more profitable, but I'm going to choose to spend less money buying better equipment. I'm going to buy used equipment. I'm going to buy broken equipment. I'm going to, save money on electricity, save money on air conditioning. Well, there's no problem with that. There's no ethical dilemma on saving money to be more profitable. You just can't make an active choice on which intervention you're going to deliver to be more profitable. And then I went one step deeper and I said, well, what if I have two interventions that are equally effective, but if I choose intervention one, it's less profitable and I'm going to go out of business. If I choose intervention two, it's more profitable and I can stay in business. And then ChatGPT just kind of broke. I didn't get a good answer at that point. But like these are questions that we live with. These are the dilemmas we're facing. Like, is it really that big of a difference if I know both interventions are equally effective? One is more profitable. And so then I did say, well, what if I'm not a certified? You guys know I'm talking about manual therapy versus either exercise or activity. What if I'm not a certified manual therapist? What if I don't intentionally, I choose not to go and get manual certifications. I don't have the education to deliver manual therapy. And my best option is therapeutic activity, which is 30% more profitable. No problem there. So it's like the whole ethics thing is so ridiculous. You can play the game to win however you want to do it. But I'm just curious if other people are having these conversations and trying to flesh these ideas out for themselves.
I don't know if people have, depends who they are, but most of the time I feel like they're neck deep in doing it. They're swimming. Yeah. They don't have time to leave the water and look at the lake from 30,000 feet and see where they could go because you ain't got time, right? Who has time to sit there and ponder? Well, the owners, they don't have anything to do. They have nothing to do whatsoever. They're just sitting around there counting their money. No, of course. But I think nothing gets changed unless you can look at it from a 30,000 foot view like that. Like nothing will get changed. We've only got a couple minutes left, but I do want to put this on the radar. You had a post about, I'll summarize it. It was sort of like, hey, if I want to go start running or losing weight, usually the first step in doing that is I go to Dick's Sporting Goods, I go to Amazon, and I buy a new outfit and I buy sneakers. And according to guys like who we just talked about, James Clear, that's not a bad first step. Now, it's got to be a first step, and you can't expect a lot of results from a new Lululemon outfit or a new pair of kicks. But it's not necessarily bad. I mean, James Clear has the example of if you're going to start going to the gym, the first week, all you do is get in your car, drive there, and touch the doorknob and leave. And people are like, that's ridiculous. I would never do that. And he's like, well, actually, you're not building muscle. Your goal is to build the habit. The habit builds the process. The process builds the muscle in hindsight. So that isn't a bad first step, which is I do it too. Sometimes in the winter when I'm not motivated is like, I will wake up and instead of putting on, work clothes, if I don't have a meeting or need to be on camera, I will put the workout clothes on knowing that in 2 hours I'm going to work out, because the act of having to go put the clothes on sometimes is the thing that's like, well, it's 3 steps away and not 1 step away. So I think we should talk about that post that you shared and how you might be able to bring that into clinic with dog toys or, Cracker Jack toys. What could you do? Why isn't there a kit that you buy before starting physical therapy. How many times have you had a patient post-op something on their knee or their hip and they're wearing jeans and you're like, what am I supposed to do here? Right? Like I take the pants off. I need to see that. Why is it expected in a Soul Cycle class, but not in physical therapy? I got to say it's not on the patient's end. We didn't set good expectations.
Yeah. I think a lot of that blame gets laid on us. We are choosing to ignore research that's well established and well proven to suggest that, look, if you create the environment that's inviting, people are going to go down that path. So the first thing we should be kind of grooming the patient to be ready for is to say, look, our patients who buy a new pair of shoes, right? You just had a joint replacement. They invested $50,000 into that new knee. I think you could spend $40 to get a new pair of shoes. Now, what's going to happen on the provider side is they're going to say, oh, but you're going to exclude people who can't afford a $40 pair of shoes. And this is true. And this is where I go back to, where are we on the readiness journey? Who are we best designed to help? There are resources for individuals who aren't going to buy a $30 pair of shoes. There are resources for individuals who aren't going to change their lifestyle in ways that we believe they should. But there are also people who will. And so I was just listening to them talking about an 8 sleep. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a mattress topper. It's like a smart device. It's cooling, it's warming, it does all this stuff to improve your quality of sleep, but it's like $7,000. And yet there are still huge audiences that when they want to sleep better, they will invest that money. If you want to rehab a shoulder problem, these are the pieces of equipment that I recommend you get. It's not just about the equipment. It's about making a commitment to yourself, a promise to yourself that says, hey, I am serious about this. I'm so serious. In fact, I'm going to spend $100 to get the equipment that I need to do the job. Can I do it without the equipment? 1,000,000% yes. I can go out there and find heavy rocks. I don't need to buy dumbbells. But if I buy the dumbbells, it's a commitment, a promise, a psychological thing that we're doing with ourselves to make us a little more likely to follow through.
I mean, I'm thinking about making this change and I thought I was an idiot, but now you're making me feel like I'm less of an idiot. I have a room downstairs with weights and exercise equipment in it. In the winter, it gets a little cold down there. I don't know, 30% of the time I might not work out based on just the cold, where I'm like, it's dark down there. It's in my basement. In the summer, it's great. In the winter, it's not. I'm thinking about, because I have the space in my living room, do I bring my Peloton up to the living room and put it in my living room and make sure I don't put clothes all over it so it's not a hanger? Will I use that more often if it's 35 feet away and it's in a brightly lit room? It's a little warmer on the top floor of my house in the winter. Am I going to use that more? Should I do that? I brought dumbbells up here, and in between calls or throughout the day, I do that because I'm like, I don't know, some's better than none. And me going down there and having to commit 45 minutes to an hour can't happen all the time. But if I could get a couple of reps in, I'm smart enough to know that those things compound. So I think we should talk about that with Dave and think about that.
It's a visual reminder, know, that it's that annoying gnat that's flying around your face. Like, it's in your face every single day. Why are you not writing this? You paid for it. You have it. Why are you not reminding it? When it's sitting in the basement, sitting in the garage, sitting somewhere hidden behind something, it's just that much easier to ignore. Parting shot, the biggest value I think that we can deliver is the ability to modify the environment to encourage the outcome, and if I need somebody to move more, the best way for me to do it is to modify the environment to encourage them to want to move more. I'm never going to force them to move more. That's our value proposition is, hey, we know you want to move more. We know you don't know how to get yourself to move more. So we're going to come in with the tools and resources to get you to want to move more. That's the value.
Yeah. My parting shot would be, geez, what else did we talk about today? I'm trying to think back to what we had a conversation with.
Memberships, affiliate income, social media.
Listen, if you want to do something a little bit done poorly is better than nothing at all done nothing at all. So I would say that's content creation or building muscle or changing and building a habit. And this goes for the clinician as well as the patients. How are you going to set them up for success? I'm saying this is very simple. It's not easy. You're going to have to change some things. Or maybe you're in a clinic that does not want to change and it's an assembly line. I would say that's probably the mark of a bad clinic, right? So I would say, how can you make a small little change in yourself or in what you're dispensing? And we can get into the dispensing conversation on Thursday. I got a cool screenshot to share with you. I would say building and changing habits is actually what the business we're actually in. All right, Tony, we'll see you back. Dave's back on Thursday. Have a good post Labor Day. No more labor. We're done with that. And no white pants.